Hello, guys. Hey, Autistic. Hey, Deb. Hey, Peas. Hey, Jesse. The logo I emailed was too small. I figured that, but when I made it bigger, it was kind of blurry. I'll figure it out. I'll send it to you. I'm moderating Molly's channel until Nikki's live. I have 2 windows open. Oh, and I'm knitting. Holy, you're very busy, Autistic. Holy crap. I can barely single task at the moment. Sling on my arm now. Looks like I tore. Oh, man, I heard that's some painful crap. Oh, my. I'm so sorry. Hey, Cool Gamer. Hey, Melanie. Hey, SD. Hey, JJ. What's up? I hope you're doing well. I know I am. Oh, yeah. Smiling from ear to ear. You're making me a full hood. Oh, my God. You're so cute. Thank you. I probably could do for one because honestly, I don't have any hoodies. I have one. It's old as heck. It's got a zipper in the front too, so it's kind of thin. I've worn the crap out of it. Good, I'm glad you got back, JJ. Hey, Mama 4. So I have some clips I guess I can show you guys from Megan Walsh's point of view, and maybe a little bit about Adam Walsh as well. And then I'll read this book. I'm waiting for Sayla. She's not in here though. I don't like doing this without her. I don't know if she's going to show or not though. So I kind of would. I will probably just go ahead though because I don't want to keep waiting. You know what I mean? With or without a zipper? I don't know. Whatever's easiest for you, I could care less. Yeah, I know he is sweet. Surprise me. I'm just gonna go look at these videos I saved. And I'll play a couple little ones and then I'll start reading. Oh, there they are, my watch later ones. Well, yeah, already freezing. I think it's gonna be one of those days. Wow, I got a lot of crap on here. Here's a good one. Hey, Teresa. Oh, you're not late. I just started, girl. I make some merch for people to see how it goes, but thank you first. Yeah, okay, that would be a good idea. And then I'll wear it and I'll show everybody and let them know what I think, Jesse. And then I think you should, this is what I did before I could link the accounts on my YouTube, but get started. I know you're in the UK, so I'm wondering if you guys have Teespring. That's what I use. And I already had mine hooked up before I was able to link it to my channel because you have to get to so many subs before you can do that. So I don't know. I'll wear it unless you want to do it your way and then charge money for it that way. That's entirely up to you, actually. All right, I'm going to show this quick clip. This is one, it's from a while ago. It says, it's about Adam Walsh and it says how it was solved, which I don't even recall seeing, but I'm going to play it. Just going to make sure I share my screen this time because I'm awesome like that. You're raw. Shh. KJ's not even on the screen, honey. Not tonight. All right, just gonna mute myself. Oh, it's a dog. His girlfriend's outside. Hey, Brenda.
Double digits, possibly 10%. Katie?
And Anthony, we mentioned the market was up more than 350 points, most of it after the Fed's announcement. So Wall Street was really happy to hear this news.
They were, Katie, because they saw two key things. First, not only did the Fed knock rates to zero, but they said, we're going to keep them here as long as it takes. Second, the Fed said, we're going to spend as long as it takes to get credit moving. The key thing here is getting mortgage rates down, maybe as low as 4%, to try to put a bottom under the housing market.
All right, Anthony Mason. Anthony, thank you. Also heading down is inflation. In fact, it's gone. The government reported today that consumer prices in November fell 1.7%. That is the biggest drop on record, and those plunging gas prices led the way. That, of course, is good news for consumers, but this is not. Mark Strassman reports that even as the Fed is cutting interest rates for banks, banks are raising their credit card rates.
True to her small-town roots, Miriam Majors has never lived low. She buys her clothes at Goodwill, and always pays bills on time.
Bye. Y'all have a
America suddenly jacked her credit card's interest rate from 7.9% to 28%. This nurse was the bank changed her rate because her credit limit on
It just didn't make sense to me because I did know what our credit scores were.
It's called balance chasing. Banks worried about their own rising loan defaults are chopping credit limits on customers.
So everybody's being a little bit careful.
By one estimate, $2 trillion worth, 40% gone by 2010. It was a downward spiral. Banks noticed that 733, and that's what made her interest rate. In a statement, Bank of America couldn't comment on a aggressive look at account in the current environment. But consumers
and they followed them accordingly.
Disgusted, Majors closed her bank in making the rules.
I don't even want another.
Customers could use the relief.
Murder of his own son, his most wanted. But there was one case he couldn't crack. So he's made a career helping police solve. Now to a dramatic turn in the story of John.
News, Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Now to a dramatic turn in the story of Don Walsh. As you know, he's made a career out of helping police solve crimes on his TV show, America's Most Wanted. But there was one case he couldn't crack, the murder of his own son, Adam. Now, more than a quarter century after the 6-year-old disappeared, police in South Florida have declared the case solved. Here's Kelly Kobiella.
Any specifics here when you have it?
The words John and Reve Walsh had been longing to hear for 27 years.
It is our determination and conclusion that Otis Toole was the abductor and murderer of Adam Walsh.
A definitive answer as to who killed their 6-year-old son, Adam Walsh, the smiling boy in the baseball cap. It was Otis Toole, a drifter and violent pedophile who died in prison 12 years ago.
This is a wonderful, wonderful day, in spite of why we're here.
For 27 years, we've been asking, who could take a 6-year-old boy and murder him and decapitate him? Who? We needed to know.
Adam Walsh disappeared from a store in Hollywood, Florida in 1981. He had been there with his mother.
Reve said, Adam, I'll be in the lamp department 2 hours over. And he said, Mommy, I know where that is. And 10 minutes later, she returned and he was gone.
2 weeks after he vanished, fishermen found the boy's decapitated head in a canal more than 100 miles away. The rest of his body was never found.
The next of kin is being notified at this point in time.
Toole, a serial killer, was a suspect from the beginning, but police acknowledge missteps in the investigation, losing bloody carpet from Toole's car, then the car itself. Despite that, police say the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming.
This is a day that's long overdue. Truly is.
After Adam's murder, John Walsh became an activist for missing children, launching a TV show to track down violent criminals.
This is a bad day for you.
And pushing for laws to help parents.
It's now my high honor to sign the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act.
Today, he had a message for those parents.
Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope.
Walsh said there is no closure, only justice, and his family finally has it. Kelly Kobiella, CBS News, Hollywood, Florida.
Turning to
Sorry about that. I thought I had it on the right spot that I could play it. Apparently not. Guys, check comments here. It's a little low. I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys are able to hear this. Stop sharing the screen. Didn't have my window open all the way. And apparently I need my window open in order for me to be able to play videos, which sucks, but yeah. That was a year before you were born. Yeah. Hey, Lori. Oh, I seen that you messaged me. I haven't answered you back. Actually, I still got to answer you back, Teresa. I just had a lot of phone calls. I was really busy today. Yeah. I finally made that doctor's appointment, Teresa. Finally. All right, so I guess I'll get started, and then afterwards, if you guys want, I can show another short clip or something, and hopefully it plays properly this time. Unfortunately, it happened in my hometown. I remember it like it was yesterday. I couldn't imagine. I really couldn't. Even just being a child at that time, knowing that a little kid was gone, because there was no Amber Alerts or anything like that. They didn't know how to deal with that from what I'm reading. I probably wouldn't leave the house. All right, take a sip of my water and then I'm going to read it. Please. Jack. Oh, and I called the exterminator. They were supposed to be here today. I haven't heard from them, and they haven't returned my phone call. So this was fun. My son went to the school bus this morning, and a damn rat. I had to move my garbage from the back, and then I put it out front, thinking I'd outsmart the bastards. Well, I didn't hear them at all because I could hear them coming through the vents. I could hear them all under my tub and everything. I haven't heard one thing today. Not one. Wow. They must have figured out what the heck I was doing, because when my son went out to go to the bus stop and open the door, a goddamn rat jumped out of the freaking garbage bag that I had right at my front door. So he screams, he's going, holy crap. He goes, yeah, Mom, we got rats. It's like, you think? And he's like, it was this big. I'm just laughing because it's gross, but I'm laughing because it's like, holy I thought maybe they left. No, they outsmarted me and found my garbage out front. Changed our freedom and innocence for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, but I didn't call that ear doctor yet. Damn it. I called my doctor. I'm going in tomorrow. I got to get blood work done. I'm going to get that done. And I got to go get my throat checked out. My throat's been hurting for like 3 days, and I didn't think nothing of it. I went and looked in the mirror. I'm like, oh, great. Yay. Welcome back, strep throat. Of course it is. All right. What am I calling the doctor for? Ears. There. All right. So now we're on to chapter 5. And this is called The Search, part 1. And I believe this is from John Walsh again speaking. I knew that my son was out there. I was just hoping that he hadn't fallen into a canal. A lot of unfenced waterways were near our house. Kids drowned in them all the time, but Adam was a great swimmer. He could dive down 10 or 12 feet. My little boy wasn't going to panic in a canal. He's very, I love that he loves his child, and I don't know, I almost get like a condescending prick feel from him. My little boy wasn't going to panic in a canal. I don't know, I don't like that. Hey, AZE. Adam was 3 years younger than me. I remember that very well. I don't think my memory of people searching the field, now homes, across the street of my childhood home, but that is a memory. Oh, wow. What about all the hours of drown proofing that I've done with him? If he had fallen into a canal, he was going to be just fine. Unless the banks were so deep and slippery from the mud that he couldn't be able to climb out. We all knew that Adam had not simply wandered off. He was not that kind of kid. Not one to just take off with some other little kids. He was shy, timid even. He obeyed his elders. He respected authority. He did what he was told to do. He was not a little hellion who ran around unsupervised. There was a thought, a fleeting thought, that was beginning to work its way up, slowly, from my stomach toward my brain. I was doing my best not to pay any attention to it. If he's not out wandering around or trying to find his way home, and he hasn't fallen into a canal, I told myself, then maybe a woman who recently had a miscarriage, or someone who had lost a child hit by a car, or a set of grandparents whose little grandson has been tragically killed in an accident, someone like that must have him. And they're going to bring him back because they're loving people. You know, I understand his thought process, and I would have thought that too, and I would have hoped that would have been it too, absolutely. Because we all know what happened, and what happened was just pure awful. That was the only way I could deal with the thought that was just now beginning to circle in my brain. The thought that somebody out there, excuse me, somewhere might have taken him. He's a narc. He saw his son as an extension of himself. In Walsh's mind, his son could fight sharks as well. I know he said that, and I'm laughing because this whole shark thing. I hope there's more of that in here because it was funny. Who would take a little kid? The only reason anyone could possibly do such a thing was to replace his or her own great loss. I can understand that. Someone had seen a beautiful child, our little born 6-year-old boy, and she was trying to ease her own unbearable pain. I had read about things like that, about deranged women who took babies from a nursery or a maternity ward because they had had a miscarriage or a stillborn. In my head, I was thinking, he's trying to find his way home, but he's never walked home before, from anywhere. He doesn't know where he is. He thinks his mother's left him, and he can't understand why, because no one has ever abandoned him before. Something must have happened to make his mother not come back. I don't know what Reve was thinking. At that moment, we did not know a lot of things, but Reve was sure of one thing. He had been absolutely positive about it when, by the time I arrived at the mall, I kept telling her that what she was saying made no sense, that it couldn't possibly be true. But no matter what I said, she was adamant. She kept insisting that a young girl, a security guard at Sears, had come up to her crying because she was afraid, according to Reve. That Adam might have been one of the ones she had ordered out of the store. I don't know. He sounds like a typical male bragging about his child. Hi, everyone. Hey, Wind Whispers. Yeah, I'm on the big screen again. I thought this book was written by John Walsh. Yeah, it is. Him and her last name is crazy, but him and Susan wrote it. We left the Checker and walked through the parking lot out across Hollywood Boulevard to a pale brick building on the other side of it that had the words Hollywood Police on the front. Inside, we took an elevator to the detective bureau on the 3rd floor, a big room where a lot of guys were sitting around with their feet up on their desks, their sports coats off, hanging on the backs of their chairs so that you could see the holstered guns that they were wearing underneath. These were the detectives. Almost immediately, I began to meet cops, all kinds of cops. Mr. Walsh, I'd like to introduce to you Sergeant so-and-so. This is Detective such-and-such. They weren't investigators, just the hodgepodge of the Hollywood Police. They started asking us questions, and I was asking just as many questions back. I think they were starting to get the idea that something was drastically wrong here, and I began to get the distinct impression that somehow they all knew something that I didn't. That this particular incident was going to be resolved before daybreak, one way or the other. Hey, Mama 3, how are you? Oh, don't be sorry that you're late. I just started. Yeah, I just started. I'm only on page 3. After a while, Reve went back to the house, but I stayed at the police station that first night until long after the sun went down, until it was finally time to go home. When I walked out into the night from the air conditioning, it was still sticky and hot outside. Silent, not even the faintest breeze. It was more than a mile back to our house from the Hollywood Mall, but I didn't want to drive it. I wanted to walk, to retrace what might possibly have been Adam's steps. John Monahan had called some of his business friends, and they had come over to the station. We all began to walk, slowly, shoulder to shoulder, in a human chain across the Hollywood golf course, moving like an army, like the infantry. No one talking, just shining our flashlights, searching, and over calling out Adam's name. I still don't understand why the mother wasn't staying in the car. Why would you leave a note on the car? Why wouldn't you stay in the car with food, water, blankets, whatever you got to do? Stay in that car, because if this did happen where he wandered off or whatever, we know now that he didn't, but for her not to want to stay in that car, that doesn't make sense to me. I am a mom. And I am a mom of a boy. And I'm telling you, if my son was missing and the last place I seen him was at this mall parking lot and this mall closed, I'd be in my goddamn car. I'd sit in my car probably and freeze to death if it was really cold out, just waiting for him. I wouldn't even feel comfortable sitting in my car. Not at all. I would wait there and wait in agony, and I would wait. I definitely would. And the police officers are right across the street, right? So I would tell them, I'll be in my car. If you hear anything you let me know. I would never leave that car. That bothers me. It really does. Especially being a mom. Moms are like warriors with their kids. At least they're supposed to be. I don't understand why she left. Remember when my son was in NICU, a lady tried to get in. She was screaming, "Give me my baby." Her baby wasn't there. He had passed. Oh, wow. That is so sad. She must have been like delirious. I couldn't imagine. She was screaming, "Give me my baby." Wow. Or the way he was describing his son early chapters, I really think it's an art thing. Yeah, me too. Definitely, SD. Hey, Nikki and all, what have I missed? I've been listening, but first live I've caught in a while. I'm just reading the book. It's called Tears of Rage. It's by John Walsh, and it's about his son, Adam. I've only read a couple pages so far. It's been a day. I'm sorry. I know you've been going through a lot. Is there any of you people out there? Can you send some good vibes, Mama of 3? Good vibes, some prayers. My mom's a narc, and that's exactly how she would talk about whichever one of us kids she favored at the moment. Yeah, you're right. I get that. Oh, yes. I don't know how long it took us to make it back to McKinley Street. I only remember that the whole time there was only one thought in my head, that it was late at night. The stars were out, and that for the first time in her life, my son's mother did not know where her little boy was. By the time we got back to the house, people had already showing up, friends, relatives, people who had heard what was going on and wanted to help. Someone had called a radio station earlier in the day, and they had made some kind of announcement. That's how Michael Monahan heard about it, on his car radio when he was driving around with his girlfriend. He was already at the house by the time his dad and I got there. Jane was on tour in Europe, but Graham was there and my brother Joe. Me too, Kayla. It's horrible. Yeah, DM me on Twitter. That afternoon, Davies down in the island. Les Davies down in the island happened to be listening to WINC, a radio station that broadcasts from Miami, and heard a news flash about a missing little boy named Adam Walsh. Les got out on the first flight he could. And then, I'm not sure who called him, but my best friend, Jeff O'Regan, arrived. Truck drivers heard about it on their CBs, and people began to drive up and down the streets of our neighborhood on bicycles and cars on foot. At 7:30 that night, Jack Simons, the president of the local Citizens Crime Watch, received a call from the Hollywood police and sent out 47 members who started a walking search of the city that they kept up until 3 a.m. People were looking for Adam in the backyards and dumpsters, under cars and in canals. The police went out with search dogs, a boat covered the waterways, and a rescue helicopter flew overhead with its spotlight trained on the ground. All over, everywhere, there was a weird commotion. Reve rode around the neighborhood on her bicycle, down the side streets and alleyways, calling Adam's name. She went back to the mall again and looked in the windows of every store. She got up onto the roof of the mall and called down the ventilator shafts. Most of that night, John Monahan was out looking for Adam too. He and some friends went up to look every door in the neighborhood and knocked. "We're looking for a 6-year-old boy. We've lost a little boy." All the people were concerned, but not one of them had seen Adam. Thanks, Melanie. And Brenda. Between that and Jacob Wetterling, I understand why Mom was in nervous wreck with my older brothers. Yeah, exactly. Now you know where I am. Tips and leads started coming in from everywhere. The phones were ringing off the hook, both at the police station and our house. An employee at a convenience store told Joe that he had seen Adam climb into a white car. A woman who worked in the Hollywood Mall bakery said she saw Adam wandering through the stores. A man reported that Adam had been at St. Matthew's Catholic Church in Hollandale. 3 sanitarian workers thought that they had spotted him on the 4400 block of Van Buren Street. Another tip said that he was at the Fort Lauderdale airport boarding a domestic flight to the Midwest. One woman called the house saying that she had seen him at a stationery store in Fort Lauderdale with a Latina woman and another small child. Reports of sightings were coming in from West Palm Beach to Miami. We have 50 million people who thought they saw him, one police dispatcher said, and not one of them really had. Rather than go back to her house, Graham moved into the middle guest bedroom between our room and Adam's. She remembers that as every hour went by, it just kept getting worse. She was trying not to picture anything. She couldn't allow herself to think about it, but on some level, she knew that he wasn't walking anymore, that he was in someone's car. To come to that realization, wow, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't even allow myself to go there, you know what I mean? She kept remembering how she had always told Adam that she hoped she would live long enough to see him as a grown man, to know what he decided to choose in life. Do you have any idea what you might like to be? She once asked him. Oh, yes, a scientist, he said, but only in the daytime, Graham, because I'm so afraid of the dark. Aww. Just going to write a trigger warning because it's going to write on my screen, but I don't know, I just want to be cautious. This might be, hard for a lot of people. It's hard for me even just to read this. There we go. In the house that first night, no one slept. And the next morning before dawn, it all started again. Reve and I went out to search for him in the car. 22 HPD patrol officers asked for overtime duty at the end of their normal night shift so that they could continue looking. 50 people searched the West Broward gravel pits. That morning, there was a story in the Hollywood Sun-Tattler. Massive search launch for boy 6, Adam Walsh, disappeared from Sears Monday afternoon. Yeah, it is hard, especially as being a mom, right? It's very hard to put yourself in that situation. I'm not going to even try, but I could tell you, I just would not be okay. All right, I'll do that, Teresa. Oh, there we go. There, I got both. Yeah, you'd be in a crazy ward, right? The Miami News ran a story too. A small item at the bottom of the local column. They got our address on McKinley wrong and said that Adam was 7 instead of 6. Wow. Then they quoted a police aide who said the kid is probably lost somewhere and we're searching the city for him. Kidnapping is not suspected. Wow. At 10 a.m. that Tuesday morning, Reve and I went on local TV for the first time to plead for information about Adam. I don't remember exactly how we arranged it. Les may have set it up. We stood under some lights in front of a camera and said, "Look for landmarks, Adam. Look for landmarks, and you will be able to find your way home." Then afterward, I went back to the detective bureau where the most frightening things started happening. I'd gone over there expecting to hear some reports and to find out that police were doing and what progress had been made overnight. But there wasn't any information like that. Instead, the police started asking me what I thought they should do. Do you have any ideas, John? Anything we haven't tried? At the end of the day, Reve and I made another TV appeal. This time, there was no avoiding it. Someone asked if I thought that Adam had been kidnapped. I don't know what they would be looking for, I said, but we're willing to negotiate. Then we officially announced that we were offering a $5,000 reward for Adam's return. By that point, a flyer had already been distributed to postmen, cab drivers, and Florida Power and light workers so that they could recognize Adam if they saw him. But it wasn't good enough. I knew that we had to circulate a poster that wasn't some piece of mimeographed, hand-lettered crap. At the police station, they had shown me a couple of missing persons posters, and immediately I thought, this is bullshit. My career was in the hotel marketing business. I know how to write an ad copy for sale brochures, and I had friends who were in graphic design, so I started writing the copy myself. Simple and clear. Hey, Nikki, just wanted to show you my support, but I can't listen to Losing Children right now. No worries, honey. No worries. Missing person, $5,000 reward for information leading to the whereabouts of Adam Walsh. Age 6 years old, height is 3'6", weight is 45 pounds. Hazel eyes, slight build. For other, they have missing one top tooth with second tooth coming in. But he was missing two. I don't understand that. Clothing worn when last seen. Pants were green shorts. Shirt was short sleeve pullover. Predominantly red and white striped. Shoes were yellow sandals, and hat was beige colored with a beige colored captain's hat. Then we designed the layout of the poster and went through a whole stack of pictures of Adam. Jeff picked out one that showed him in his T-ball uniform with this bat and his red baseball cap because he thought it was the one that most looked like him. But there was also another reason for choosing that particular photograph. I knew that the most important thing of all in a missing poster was to include mention of some identifying mark. But what identifying mark on our beautiful blonde boy? He was young and perfect. He didn't have even the smallest scar on his body, let alone a tattoo. So we chose the picture of him in his red baseball cap because it had been taken only a week before, and in it, he was smiling. If you saw it, you couldn't help but notice that right on top, he had a little missing tooth. I'm going to check that. I don't know. I always thought it was two missing teeth. I'm just going to double check his face here because I kind of have questions. I thought both front teeth were missing, not just one. Where is it? There's hardly anything in here about his kid. It's all John. Wow. Nothing. Every page is all about him. Where's the pictures of your child? Wow. Joe took the pictures to a professional photo service that he knew. We put our home phone number and address on the posters, along with a local police number and a toll-free 800 number that we had installed. And at the bottom of the poster were included the messages. We are willing to negotiate ransom on any terms. Strict confidentiality. Do not fear revenge. We will not prosecute. We only want our son. If desired, contact any radio or TV station, newspaper, or any other media as a neutral party for negotiations or information. Do not fear revenge. We want Adam home. We called a printing company and had them print up 50,000 flyers. Someone donated the cost of the job, picked up the whole bill, and had the printing done for us. The community was starting to rally, which was great, but even so, we still had a problem. Now that we had designed and produced the posters of Adam, we had to figure out how to get people to see them. Les Davies, using contacts that he had made as president of the Out Island Promotion Board, got in touch with a guy named Jeff Niven, the vice president of Delta Airlines, who had called from Atlanta offering to send down 300 people to join in the search. Niven said, you know what we'll do? We'll come and pick up the posters and we can go to all the airports and give stacks of them to all the pilots. They'll take them on their planes and hand them out, and that way they'll be distributed in Atlanta and all around the country. Both Eastern and Delta Airlines delivered Adam's poster to airports nationwide. We even had some of the posters printed in Spanish. I can remember Joe going to the Fort Lauderdale airport and putting them in every plane that took off. By the end of that first week, we had printed 150,000 flyers, and 50,000 of them were distributed free of charge by a local postal delivery company. While we're in the middle of all that, I started picking up on something over at the HPD that I could not quite bring myself to believe. Adam had been gone now, without a word, overnight for nearly 24 hours. And still, no matter what we told them to the contrary, the police were insisting on describing him as missing. No mention of the fact that he might have been abducted, not even that possibility. They were so sure, so absolutely certain that Adam had wandered off or was playing a game and somehow would just as easily meander back, as if he was a kid who was having a little life event, but it was all going to be okay. Yeah, that's bullshit. I would have went ape shit. A 6-year-old boy has been missing for over 24 hours. Something is severely wrong here. He's not just missing, he's been abducted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how they held their cool. I would have went nuts. Then 48 hours into the search on Wednesday, July 29th, Fred Barbetta, the HPD spokesman, gave a quote to the papers. I think it's time we hit the waterways hard. If he's in the water, this is when he'd come up. Oh. Wow. It was not until the following day on a Thursday that Jack Hoffman, the Hollywood detective who was in charge of the case, finally made a statement. So 72 hours later, they finally make a statement. He said that Adam's disappearance appears to be an abduction. Wow. This is not the type of child to just walk off, but we don't have any clues whatsoever what the motive might be. Even during the first 24 hours, Joe and Graham were right there with us. But by a few days later, the rest of our family still didn't know. Adam's story was a local one, so anyone far away wouldn't have known unless we told them. Jimmy was still living out in California, and my sister Jane was on her way back from European tour. She remembers flying back into New York and calling our house from the airport to let someone from the family know that she was home. That's how she found out. Eventually, Reve realized that there was no more putting it off. She would have to call her family in upstate New York. Why the hell wouldn't you tell anybody? I would have been right on that phone, especially to get more help from people. She didn't want to do it. As bad as it was for her, she didn't want it to be bad for them. Well, they have a right to know, for one. And they could have been there to help, for two. Right away, they said they would come down. See? Told you. Well, anybody would do that in their family, right? But she said that she needed them to stay where they are. What? Wow. There's enough people with us already, and that we made flyers, like the ones you see on telephone poles where a dog is lost. We had written down all the information about Adam. On one side of the poster, he was in the shirt that he was wearing when he disappeared. On the other side was his baseball cap. Hervé told them that everything was going to be all right, that they were going to find Adam, and that they shouldn't worry. She tried in any small way to save them as much grief as she could. What else could she do? I don't know. How about tell the truth? That their grandson has been abducted instead of lying? I'd be pissed off at her for sure if she told me that. Wow. Tell them that, what else should I do? Tell them that their grandson is not being seen now by anyone for 3 days going on 4 days? Yes, that's exactly what you do, Ray. Gradually, even though things were happening so fast, it began to dawn on us that we weren't going to be able to really rely on the cops. I don't know that any of one thing specifically sparked that feeling. Maybe it was when the two lead investigators, HPD detectives, Jack Hoffman and Ron Hickman, came over to the house one day to question us. On his way out, Ron Hickman, who was a Baptist Sunday school teacher, mentioned to me that religion would be a big help for us in getting through all of this. Right, Brenda? Why would you not tell your family? Especially, she just said, I thought it was just the 3 days. It's now going on 4. I mean, come on. That's a little strange and odd to me. I said, Ron, with all due respect, you know we're not born-again Christians. We're Catholics. But he started telling me anyway about how someone in his family had gotten into trouble and prayed to Jesus, and Jesus had helped him. And then he gave me a religious brochure. I did not want to be hearing from a lead detective in charge of Adam's case that Jesus Christ was the one who would save me. Yeah, I would agree on that. I'd be a little bit pissy. I'd be like, listen, do not bring religion into this. Do your fucking job. I wanted to know what the police were going to do to get out there and find my son. All my life, I had always been successful at pretty much everything that mattered. I had never really screwed up on anything serious, and I was not going to fail at this. We, my family and friends, would be the ones to get Adam the very best shot. We would work day and night, travel to the ends of the earth, go anywhere, do anything, spend any amount of money to get my little boy back. Yeah, my parents would have been my second call. Exactly. My first call would have been the police, but we know she didn't do that. She waited over 2 hours, and somebody had to call for her because she didn't do it. I mean, that's a little odd to me. Really odd, actually. By now, press people had started camping out on our front lawn and on a sidewalk in front of our house. The coverage wasn't orchestrated by us. The media came on their own. Later, I learned that it was because they monitored scanners and police dispatch radios, all of them looking for that breaking story. At the time, I had no idea what police scanners were and how the press knew to rush to the scene of things. But they were there, and it was a good thing. Exactly. You'd call your family after you would call the police, and she didn't do either. Wow. That's suspicious if you ask me. I get people act differently, you know what I mean, in situations. I get that. I could see freezing up and being scared and like, what the hell do I do? Eventually you're going to get it together, you know. Your child's missing. Why wasn't your first step calling the police? They should have had the mall locked down for one. They should have went on the intercom for two, and they didn't until way later. It doesn't make sense to me. Except that they were making mistakes about her address or Adam's age or what he had been wearing. Also, some of them were beginning to make it sound as if we had a lot of money. I was now a marketing executive, and our checker was a custom car. I was afraid that someone might be holding Adam in hopes of getting a huge ransom. We hadn't received any ransom notes, but it was a possibility. So Les and I tried to emphasize the truth, and I was working in prison, and that with Reve, I weren't rich people who had money to burn. That's how Les became our head of PR. In the meantime, the Hollywood PD was being very cooperative about letting the press in for the sake of the Walshes. We needed the media, and for the moment at least, they needed us. I was white and a businessman. What? They thought Reve and I were telegenic and charismatic. Lucky for us that we weren't black or poor. Wow. Lucky for me that I wasn't Eddie Miles. If I had been, we wouldn't have stood any kind of chance. We wouldn't have gotten a mention in the papers. Why has he got to bring race into this? We get it. You're fucking privileged, asshole. Wow. Adam was sad, but it took a female Amber. Yeah, exactly. Amber Alert. Yeah. I was pretty cynical about the press, but not all of its members were horrible. Some were genuinely concerned, trying to help in any way they could. One reporter even stopped by to ask if we wanted to borrow his search dog, but mostly the press needed to sell newspapers, and I needed to get my son back. That was my deal with the devil. That was how we hit on the idea of jacking up the reward. On the first of the missing posters, we had offered $5,000, made up of money that Monahan and Ray Millette, one of my business partners, had put together with the help of friends. Then, a few days later, a TV reporter came up to me and said, "The story's old news, John. It's dying. Adam's been gone for days. Come on, increase the reward. Give us something to lead with tonight." It was a new game that we had to learn to play. We knew that every time we upped the reward, more crackpots would call in with phony tips. It was unbelievable that people would try to extort money from us at the time like this, but a number of them did. So the idea was to raise the reward even enough to keep the press interested without making it high enough to bait the psychos. House began gravitating to different roles. Les was handling the press. Graham's job was to answer the phones and keep a log on a yellow legal pad of every call that came in. My brother Joe was our leg man, running to the airports, being a presence at the police station, going everywhere to get the flyers out. Whenever I had been away from home traveling, it was always Joe who had looked out for Adam, and now Joe, always more like Adam's big brother than his uncle, was doing everything he could to bring the little guy back. And then there was Jeff O'Regan, a big, terrific, rough, tough guy with a huge mustache who emptied out his bank account and showed up at our door. $100 for this, $1,000 for that. Whatever we needed to keep searching and manning the phones came out of Jeff O'Regan's pocket. He was the one who gave gas money to any searcher with a swamp buggy who needed it, who was there day and night answering the 2 phones that he had paid to have installed. And by a day or two into the search, these phones were ringing off the hook. We had a recorder on one line in case nobody came up with a ransom demand. Nothing very sophisticated. The little suction cup kept popping off the receiver. Our motto at the time was money, guns, and lawyers. Ray Millette was handling the business end of things. He was acting as a go-between with my other partners, a group of potentially lethal, powerful management guys who knew how to pull strings and make things happen. They were the ones who put together the money we were offering for a reward. It started as $5,000, then we bumped it to $25,000, and before long, it was up to $100,000. All to keep the press interested, all from what Ray and the other partners were pulling together. Of course, we didn't actually have the money in hand, and we certainly didn't have it in the house. But the police were worried that some wacko, thinking that we did, might try to break in at night. So at one point, the HPD detective came over to our house and handed Jeff a wooden box that contained a .357 Magnum. His for the duration. Every night, Jeff slept in the living room, draped over a little velvet settee, cradling his gun. And if anyone did try to break in, the first obstacle he was going to have to face was a fully armed 6'4" O'Regan. That's how Jeff, in our addition to everything else that he was, became our chief of security. Yeah, just when you think you can't hate him anymore, he brings it home low. Yeah, like, this guy's unbelievable. Yep, definitely. By the time Adam's story hit the papers, all kinds of people were showing up to search for him. The Florida Game and Freshwater Fish Commission donated a helicopter, and 7 of their wildlife officers conducted a ground search. Burger King donated 300 ham and cheese sandwiches and 20 gallons of orange drink for the 300 people who organized themselves to search the Florida Everglades. Jeff O'Regan jumped on a plane and flew up to both Orlando and Tampa on the same day to brief security guards at Disney World and Busch Gardens in case someone tried to take Adam there. The Broward County Airport and Half-Track Conservation Club went out in SWAT buggies to search desolate areas on the fringe of the Everglades. There were a lot of creative people with ideas of their own, people from all walks of life who had nothing to do with law enforcement but were coming up with great ideas on how to look for Adam. I don't know, maybe it was just an excuse to get out there and be macho, but I believe that they were doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. People who work day jobs keep searching all night long. The ones who were on night shifts showed up at dawn. Where can I go? What can I do? Where can I take my 5 kids to search? I'll distribute posters all on the turnpike. Can you loan me $20 for gas? Rich people, poor people, nice people, humble people. It was because of them that this whole awful thing started to take on a life of its own. People let us borrow their cars to check out the hundreds of phone tips that were coming in. A man was investigated after being seen on a city bus with a small boy. A woman said she saw Adam buying $68 worth of groceries at a local Publix grocery store. And one night, a voice on the phone said, "We have the boy. We're going to put him out at the Falls," which was a shopping center not far away. Ron Hickman put on a suit, and then they sent him out in an unmarked powder blue Lincoln Continental that had been impounded on a drug deal. He stuck a New Testament up on the dashboard like a Bible salesman and sat there in an empty parking lot waiting for hours. No, I get that, Deb. It's just, I don't like reading about it, and I don't know. People said, "Why don't you just take all of your information and feed it into a computer and see what spits out?" A woman called HPD to say that she had had a dream and that Adam was in a wheelchair being pushed by a black male down a long white corridor. And see, that's why I get pissed off with the race thing, because they're already blaming a black person. Like, seriously? Another woman from Gulfport, Florida, sent a note saying that she would light a candle every night for Adam until he returned. And by the way, I hate to bother you at a time like this, but do you think you could help me to dispose of some property that I own in the Bahamas? That's the way it was. Tips, leads, garbage, nothing. Hour after hour, day after day, everyone had another idea. And none of it was getting Adam back. One morning, Reve came into the living room and someone said, "Look at that beautiful flowers that came in today." "This isn't a funeral," she snapped. Wow. Why are they sending me flowers for? It was a piece of potential reality that she had no interest in dealing with. Then there were the psychics. I don't know how they know when to descend from the sky, but when they do, maybe they hear it on the psychic grapevine. Maybe they've got a direct line to God. Yeah, it makes me a little bit too, Melanie. I'm just going to grab a drink. I'll be right back. Actually, I'll be like literally 2 seconds. Just a minute. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I grabbed my some Tylenol too. My throat's starting to really hurt. I hope it's not strep throat, but I can tell I got a fever, no appetite, I just don't feel good. Of course, I just got done with COVID. That asshole almost killed me, and now this stupid thing. You want a drink too? What would you like? I can't. Oh my god, they still don't have my Diet Coke. What the hell? So I go to the store. I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? Oh, I don't remember. And they didn't have anything. They had no cans of anything, no bottles of Coca-Cola, nothing. So I'm like, holy crap. I'm so sick of Pepsi because I still have those three big ass bottles that I bought out of the 6-pack. And I was just like, ugh. Then I looked down. I'm like, okay, well, they have Dr. Pepper, a 12-pack of cans. I guess I can do that. Better than Pepsi. So that's what I did. I don't know how they know what to descend from the sky, the psychics, but they do. Maybe they hear it on the psychic grapevine. Maybe they've got a direct line to God. Some called us themselves. Some went through the police. It was Jimmy Campbell's job to keep track of all their calls and predictions. Go find a flag on a hill. That's where he is. Or he's going to be found near water. In Florida, you can't get more than 50 feet from water. There's a pool in every backyard, drainage canals, the inland waterway, the ocean. What the hell good was a psychic vision like that? But that didn't stop any of them from trying to share our 15 minutes of fame. My secretary later described the phenomenon as like going to Chepatawik and taking a piece of the bridge. I remember Mickey Dunn, a 49-year-old blonde from Miami Beach. She showed up 2 days into the search and told all the papers she would try to find Adam. At the time, she was doing a radio talk show and a weekly astrological forecast for a national tabloid. Her agent was advertising that she had a 94% success rate with psychic readings and that she had solved 2 missing person cases, including one involving 2 children in Texas who had been missing for 3 years. Unlike other psychics, I don't know, I think her name is Dawn. It's spelled Dahne. I know, I want a Coke Zero so bad. I think it's Dawn, it's just spelled different. Unlike other psychics, Dawn, as her agent told the papers, was a happy type of psychic. She likes to help people find romance and lost watches. With Mickey Dawn on the case, everything became an even bigger media zoo. She and Reve and one of the police sergeants went back to Sears, accompanied by a whole gang of reporters and curious people. Dawn ran her hands over the computer video game, and the paper wrote that she drifted into psychic space and retracted the last known steps taken by Adam. Reve had brought along a bag of Adam's clothes and toys, and Dawn rummaged through all of them with her hands. He's scared and he's hurting, but I think he's all right, she said. He got confused and didn't know where to go. Well, we know now the psychic's full of fucking shit. Sorry. Once I read that part, he's hurting, it pissed me off. I don't feel the person who has him owns a television or can afford one, she said as the TV light shone down on her. I feel like a sandy-haired boy about 5 foot 8 inches with shocking bright eyes, all very impressive, all very dramatic. That morning when Reve had went over to pick Mickey Dawn up, she overheard her on the phone with one of her psychic friends in New Jersey. Dawn was telling the friend to get on a plane. The weather's a lot better down here than it is up there, she was saying. Come on down to Florida with me and work the Adam Walsh case. I don't think it dawned on me for a while, but finally I began to understand. The authority running the command center in the search of Adam Walsh was not the government or even Hollywood PD. What was happening was that a large-scale rescue effort was headquartered in my home, operating out of my living room, made up of my friends, business associates, and to some degree the local police. And that the guy who was running it was me. Okay. I knew that my little boy stood the best chance of getting back alive if I ran the search myself, if I was the main coordinator of my personal SWAT team, because I thought the guys on my team were smarter and more sophisticated and tougher than the cops. There we go with the me, I again. Wow. His ego's in the goddamn way. HPD basically turned over a conference room for our use. One on the 3rd floor next to the detective bureau. A whole room for me and my boys. We had phones. People came in to see me, and I was there, running wherever I could, whenever I wasn't talking to the press or having to do something else. Some days I would go out to a little TV station and go places and try to talk to people or visit home for a little while to see how Jeff was doing. But any of us who could be were at the police station every day, so cops would have to remind themselves, oh boy, here comes trouble. The bitters. Okay, boys, watch your toes. I'd always been an athlete, taken vitamins, worked out at the gym. I had always made it a point to take good care of myself. But now I couldn't sleep and I couldn't eat. Holy shit, this guy. Someone would hand me some soup, and as soon as I would swallow it, I would be puking in the sink. But I knew that I couldn't help my little boy. I wasn't healthy. I folded. So hard as it was, I kept trying to eat. Holy. At the house, it was constant chaos, mayhem, 20 out of 24 hours a day. Thank God for the chaos, but even so, as the days wore on, a routine began to take shape. Everybody had a role to perform during the day. But then, before we called it quits for the night, which was usually at 2 or 3 in the morning, the last thing we could do was sit down for a strategy meeting. What had gone wrong today, what we were going to try next. Anybody have new ideas? We were trying to fill every possible vacuum with work, with effort, and with strategic planning. One goal, for example, was to get on as many TV broadcasts as possible at the same time. South Florida had 6 local affiliates, so our job was to try to get 18 placements every day to appear on all the stations at noon, 6, and 11. Yeah, there's a lot of me, I, right? I don't know. I've got a huge ego, that's for sure. Every night, well, after midnight, the last of the volunteers would stand by the front door making small talk as if they just couldn't bring themselves to leave. They'd go on and on, God bless them, trying to be helpful. We hated having to hustle them out, but a lot of work was still to be done. As soon as the door closed, it was time to start the planning session. What were we going to do? What's the story going to be for the press the next day? We couldn't drop the ball. We couldn't let the momentum slow. The only time to get focused on the next thing was before you finished the last. Oh, this is a long ass chapter. Holy. By now, everyone was getting a little frayed around the edges. They were exhausted, and even if they pretended not to be, they were worrying about Adam. One night I was heading into the kitchen to get a soda and happened to overhear a little bitch fest in progress. Little bitch fest. I don't even remember specifically who it was, just some of the volunteers, I guess, complaining about the greasy fast food, the no sleep, the hours, and life. Les Davies said that he can still hear the sound of the Coke bottles rattling in the refrigerator door as I slammed it. I told everyone that if things were so bad, so goddamn tough, then they could get the hell out of my house because Adam wasn't going to be sleeping in his own bed this night either, and that wherever he was crying for his mom and dad. I never heard anyone complain again. The nights were the worst. By this time, I was completely exhausted. I was spending most of my days over at the police station trying to keep things moving, and then when I finally came home to get some rest, there was no way I could sleep. I would try to lie down for a couple of hours, but that was about it. I wasn't having real nightmares about Adam, at least not sleeping nightmares. They were awakening nightmares. After an hour or so of restless sleep, I would wake up, lie there for a couple of seconds, and then I would think to myself, it isn't over, it's back. Then I would get up and try to think of something else because the only way I could deal with anything was to try to keep my mind as active as possible. If I let myself, even for a second, slip into that dark hole, then I couldn't make it stop. Holy frig. What if someone's got him? What if somebody's torturing him? What if someone's... I don't want to say that. Reve and I didn't talk a lot about it to each other. What was the point? We knew what the other was thinking. Reve would wake up in the middle of the night, not knowing if she was awake, if she was waking up or had fallen asleep. Was she asleep, dreaming a nightmare, or waking up into a nightmare that was real? Gradually, she would realize that she was walking into reality, and she would wonder how the human mind could be so cruel. Then there was the dream she was having. The ones where she could see Adam from a distance, as if he were in the back of an open truck. He was calling for her, reaching out his hands to her, but just as she got to him, just as her fingers were almost touching, he would slip away. In the dream, she was trying to reach him, but he was getting farther and farther away. I wonder if that was really Adam in her dream, his spirit, you know what I mean? almost like letting her know I'm gone now. Going home at night was horrible. Of everything, it was the harshest. Sometimes I would try to lie down with Reve. Sometimes I would go into Adam's room by myself. Never when Reve was there, and kneel down and press my face into his sheets and pillow. I would look at his toys and go into the closet and touch his clothes. Think of him, desperate, praying that somehow he could come back alive. It was unbearable. I didn't want to go into his room, but I couldn't stay out of it. I would do anything to be close to things that had once been close to him. And through it all, I was beginning to get the sense that maybe we were never going to see him again. I was also still believing, though, that if anybody could get him back, I could. I told everyone, I'm going to, holy shit with the eyes. I'm going to do anything it takes, anything to give this little boy the best chance, the best odds. I kept telling myself that, and Jeff and Ray kept saying, we're going to do it. You're giving him the best shot. What have we forgotten? Who can we call? Who do we know? What can we do? Let's give him the best odds ever of any little boy to get brought back alive. I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking, if somebody has him, if they're hurting him, whatever they're doing to him, maybe through a miracle, I can somehow help him. If he's alive still, I can save him no matter what they've done to him. And when he comes back, I will be able to make him better. No matter what they've done to him, we will get by this. We'll get through it. He'll be all right. I'll spend every minute with him, and we'll make it. But as each day went on, another voice was getting louder inside my head, one that was saying that the odds of getting my little boy back were not good. Not good to begin with, and now getting worse. The second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day. As the days wore on, it was getting harder and harder to talk to Reve. She was with the psychics, keeping index cards with their names and predictions. One called to say that she was sure that Adam was stuck in a box or a closet near the Sears store. Another called to say that he needed some unwashed pieces of Adam's clothing so that he could trace the aura. Detectives would say to me, it's probably good that Reve's off with these psychics because it keeps her mind off the reality of this. I'd say, yeah, I guess you're right. It's excellent that my wife is going into a field in the middle of nowhere at 3 o'clock in the morning with two psychics because they think they've got a feeling that right there, here at this bench, or over there by that rock, or by this road, or by that parking lot, that Adam might have been pulled into a white car, or a pink truck, or a purple van. Well, he's telling a story from his point of view, so there's going to be a lot of eyes. Yeah, I get that. It just sounds very egotistical and condescending in a lot of ways. I mean, I get it. It's just, I don't like him anymore. There's something about him, Then I would go into Adam's room at night and find Reve crying her eyes out, lying on his bed with all his toys and clothes and things around her. And I was the one who would have to get her out of there. 50 or 60 psychics had attached themselves to this case, and the minute those TV cameras would start rolling, they couldn't jump up fast enough to get next to Reve. All of them were talking about Adam's aura. That was the big deal. Everybody saw the aura, and the aura said that Adam was alive. Yeah, I got enough mods. I want to go watch that live that was being talked about. You can say, yeah, go ahead. I got enough. It was cruel to take that kind of advantage of Reve's desperate need to get her son back, of her tremendous vulnerability for the sake of furthering their own careers. Their psychic hotlines, their psychic this, their psychic that, I could still hear it. I worked the Walsh case. I worked the Hollywood police. I aided the police in Adam Walsh investigation. Damn them. What good were they? How did they help? They didn't do anything but take poor woman, one poor mother, and lead her on a wild goose chases in the middle of the night, telling her that they had the psychic vision and that Adam was in a loving home with a beautiful pool. Wow, these psychics are disgusting. Or with a wonderful couple in North Carolina doing macrame. Get the fuck out of here. It was the most exploitative of all explanations of all the vultures who would sweep down when you're thrown into the melee of the media. The reporters know all the rules. The psychics know all the rules. The news directors knew all the rules. The cops knew all the rules. And you don't know shit. Everyone was looking for what he or she could get out of this. Everybody except the single, pure heart, good people who came out to look for Adam. All right, Teresa, I'll finish this chapter quick and then we'll We'll go over. We only have 5 mods on. We need more. Are you a mod, Kinsey? I can't remember. I can't see if you guys are. You are a mod. Oh, okay. I figured, just making sure. Everyone was looking for what he or she could get out of this. Everybody except the simple, pure of heart looking for Adam. People came by the hundreds without being asked or paid, or sometimes even acknowledged. They were the ones who allowed me to keep my sanity, the good people who put up posters and searched all night, the people who cared and believed, not so that they could get their names in the paper. They didn't do it to plug their psychic hotlines. They did it to help a desperate searching family. They did what they could to get our little boy back, and that was the one thing that kept me believing in humanity. One afternoon, a man knocked on the front door of the house. He was a veterinarian. He said he had something that he wanted to give us. A dog, a little black Scottish Terrier puppy. The dog had been born in Kansas, and we all kind of laughed about that and started calling him Toto. Later on, we just couldn't keep him anymore, but during the search, he was there all the time. The man had said that he was giving the dog to us as a gesture, so the puppy could be Adam's dog when Adam gets home. Nothing stopped, everything stopped. Reve was haggard, so desperate. It was horrible, so painful. When we talked, we pretended to be optimistic. We would tell each other we're going to get him back. Yes, everything was going to work out just fine. I was keeping up the ruse. Why see her destroyed unless I knew for sure that something had happened? The things I was hoping for grew smaller and smaller. I knew that there were people out there who had gone through what was happening to us and who had never learned that the family happened to their children. I hoped that no matter what, we wouldn't be cursed like that, because even the thought of it enough was to make me go out of my mind. After a while, I don't know how far along, what I was still hoping for most, that was Adam would be returned to us. But if that was not going to be possible, then I was hoping that there would be a resolution, a definite knowing, one way or another. Adams was the biggest case to hit South Florida in 5 years, since the search of a little girl named Lisa Lynn Berry. She had vanished from Fort Lauderdale bowling alley, and her case was reported in all the papers too. 5 days after she disappeared, the police found her body in a vacant field. It's horrible. Hey, Chronic. You keep getting phone calls, Brenda? Aww. I didn't want to tell Reve what the odds were, which is what I was learning from the cops. Reve is a woman, and a woman can handle it. They're stronger than men. They are the ones who have the children and bear the wounds and carry the scars. They are the ones who bury the dead. But now her eyes were so huge and heartbroken that I couldn't bear to tell her. I knew what she was thinking. So one night in the dark, when we were both pretending to be asleep, I turned to her and said, Reve, I'm going to say this once and never mention it again, because I don't want you thinking it even for a minute, not once. Don't dare think that this horrible thing that has happened is somehow in any way your fault. Because do you know what? Do you know what, Reve? She was listening to me. I could tell from the sound of her breathing. I said, but for the grace of God, it could have been me. I could have had him with me at the playground, turn my back for a second, and he could have been hit by a car. I could have been looking the other way for a split second, and he could have slipped off and drowned in a canal. I know that you'll never talk to me about it, and I am never going to mention it to you again, but you had nothing to do with the disappearance of that little boy, Reve, and what we need to do now is focus on staying together and on staying healthy and strong, and on dealing with the media and looking for our son. Reve understood what I was trying to say to her. I don't know if it helped. I know that it was true. In bad situations, husband and wives tend to blame each other. That's a common thing. It just happens, and I don't know why. Maybe because we were so preoccupied in the search, so lost in the fear, but for some reason, it didn't happen to us. Maybe it was because we both realized that we had each other. We were each the only thing that the other one really had. Okay, I'm going to stop it there for tonight, and I will be back on Monday to read the rest. I've actually got to go. There's another live I need to attend, and I forgot. I was going to do this anyways, but I'm going to go over there. So I'll let you guys have a great night. I'll be back on Monday, and I'll be talking about this again. reading and showing articles and stuff. Selfie Queen Cindy's, if you guys want to come over. Teresa, can you put her channel in the chat, please? And thank you. Yeah, she's discussing something, and I happen to be involved in that, so I want to give her my 2 cents. Hey, Sella. No, where is your emergency? I just read almost almost a chapter. I've only been on for an hour and 15 minutes, but I gotta go because I have to go over to Selfie's channel. Give my support. I had to go pick up my 4-year-old. No worries. I figured it was something serious. That's why I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna go ahead. It's just them. I'm in the part where they're just looking for Adam, putting up flyers and stuff like that. No, don't be sorry. Please don't. Family always comes first. Always, always, always. You were gonna do one tonight, Deb? I didn't even see the notification. Your daughter's... Oh, I'm so sorry. What time? I think she's live right now, guys. Yeah. Selfie Queen Cindy is your channel. I hope everything worked out, Selah. Selah, I mean, I'd give you a hug if I could. But I gotta go. I gotta go lend some support. I'm still going through the shit too. So yeah, sending good vibes. All right, you guys have a great night. Thank you for joining me. I'll be right back. I'll be back on Monday as well. Yeah, I'll be back Monday and continue reading this book. I hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye.